Hello and welcome to my channel. Once again, we're at high altitude because these are the what I call big fixed blade knives. These are just categories I designed myself just for classifying this and breaking it down so I can make videos. Some of the medium-sized knives that I listed would be considered large for a lot of people, but what I'm considering a large knife is anything that's 5 inches or longer than 5 inches, because the other one, medium, went up to like 5 inch blades. So I'm talking about blade length here. Now, this is one of the categories I carry the least, mainly because of the size. There are times when I will put this on, and go out and do stuff like when I go out to the lake or something like that. I'll carry, like quite often I was carrying this Rough Rider. Um, just because, you're out, you got woods, you don't know where you're at, you don't know what you might encounter out there, and it feels better to have a bigger blade in your hand. And of course, I always carry a smaller blade with me, so I'm not trying to get one knife to do everything, you know. But let's start off with, I guess in chronological sequence would be, I had the SE6 before that. It was given to me, and I took the coating off of this. This one I kind of wish I would have left on because it was that flat dark earth, and I don't use this one to slice as much. It's more. This is a great knife, man. I mean, for the size of it, it's an SE6, but for its size, I mean, it's longer than a 6-inch blade. It looks like about a 6.5 inch on the cutting edge alone. I love the way this choil is done. You see how that's angled? That's the way an edge should be angled if you're gonna have a choil there. Not coming straight up, but angled that way. Just follow the curve. Follow the curve around. As opposed to, I rounded it a little bit. If you look at it, see, I took a little bit of that edge off. But with that edge straight like that, it is kind of following the curve also. But you can see this is more of a straight down than a round type of choil. If you look at that, see how that. Anyway, once again, Essie did it right on the choil. Also on this knife right here, I've read some reviews, the returns and everything, and a lot of people are rejecting it for the sheath. If you look at it, sometimes Amazon reviews will list which model they're talking about, and it was the D2 model with the sheath, especially the Scout Carry. A lot of people said it's too tight in there. I have no problem with the sheath on the one I've got. And as far as some people are saying the heat treat is spotty, I don't want to take the coating off that blade right now and test the Rockwell throughout the blade, and the edge is pretty small to kind of test. That's exposed, but it's really hard to. I could try it and see what it Rockwells out at, but what people were saying in the comments was supposedly Kaiser has uneven heat treat sometimes. This is kind of hard to prove. They're basically saying if you get a good one, you get a good one. If you get a bad one, you get a bad one. Yeah, so far, mine's been great. All right, so I carried this one. A lot of times, even though this thing looks huge, the way this sheath is designed and the way it carries, man, this thing carries very well. The flat handle doesn't bother me that much or anything. All right, so this one quite often I would carry. The next one, this one has a little history with it. It's the what is it? Soligen German blade, they call it. It's, oh man, my I'm getting it. It's coming. I can't remember the name of the company. I used to have one before too. Puma. There we go. Puma. It's a Puma. Yeah. This knife right here, I like the thin handle. You know, some people might not like that, but man, this thing, it really moves around in the hand very well, but it can stabilize. I mean, I know exactly where the edge is with this. I like this lower cross guard right here. This one's just enough to keep, you know, your hand from, if something else, we're not talking about blade fighting or anything, but it's possible, you know, one could stop right there if that's what you were doing. But this one, because it's, you know, I put a convex edge on it and everything else, this is the one I was out there by the dumpster with when that crazy lady was freaking out. He had a huge knife, he had a big knife. I mean, it'd be different if it was this one, you know. I mean, this would have really probably sent her into a coma if she freaks out about the size of this knife. But that's when I found out that, you know, doing my crazy stuff over by the dumpster, even though it doesn't look like there's people looking at me, a lot of times people are. And that's why I was glad that I found that Lake Bardwell area where I can go out and do stuff and not be hassled or, you know, people freaking out or anything like that. The only problem with that is it's dependent upon the weather. It's cold and wet and rainy right now, so I don't want to take an e-bike out in the rain. I know maybe they're waterproof and everything else, but yeah, I'm not worried about it shocking me, just corroding stuff. All right, so that's another one. This is an excellent knife. I love this. This one was given to me also. Thank you, Anonymous. I used to have one of these with a stag handle, and I thought I was taking it with me when I left New Mexico, but it got left behind. And I really love this, the way this knife feels. I mean, it's just great. It's not designed to be a chopper, but it is full tang. I mean, you can see you got a full tang here. So you can do what you want with this one. I really like it. This is another excellent blade. All right, so before I got to the SRKC, I was in my Tanto phase, and I got the Cold Steel Master Tanto in BG10 Sanmai. Let's see right down there. All it says is just Sanmai, but if VG10 layered with who knows what else. Sanmai is a layering technique, you know, with the softer metal on the outside to absorb shock, you know, and the spine to absorb shock, but the center layer is the really hardened steel stuff. And I wore this one quite a bit. Now this one I had to wear on my hip. I couldn't, you know, cross draw it and everything. Again, I stole another Essie sheath plate. I was trying to dyslexia that. 2 words into one. Now with this one right here, this sheath really is not dulling the blade that much like the other ones. Secure-X sheaths are, you know, so I carry this one, but it's like having a sword on your hip, you know. If you put it like this, you can rest your hand on it, you know, when you're standing around. I sliced or tried to slice some water bottles with it, and I know water bottles aren't everything, you know, but it just didn't cut near as well. And I still like it. I don't carry it. I don't use it as much. You know, I after that I was like, eh. All right, so then the SRK came along because they had this guy on sale for like $25 or $29 or something. Just because it was orange, I got it from Midway. So of course, you know, I had to put my little camo on the sheath a little bit just to break up a little bit of that orange. And this was just Sharpie here, and of course it wears off and everything, but it still kind of works. And then I put some regular camo tape here in the back and left my lanyard hole open. But I like this one, man. This is a nice knife. I know, it's not a completely full handle down here, and if you throw it, it could, the handle could start getting loose and all that other stuff. I've thrown this one. My handle hasn't gotten loose, but I'm switching, and during this year I switched from throwing it into the dirt where it can hit rocks into throwing them into wood, which is, it's fun, but to me it's not as fun as throwing into dirt, because depending on the way you hit and the power of your throw, you can go deeper into the dirt, but then you've got the variable of rocks and all that other stuff that could be down there, and it's not really safe for your knife to throw it in there like that. But I don't baby my knives, and if it feels like it's going to be fun to do it, I'm going to do it. If I'm walking along and I just feel like throwing a knife in the dirt, I'm going to throw it in the dirt. And if the tip gets damaged or it gets damaged, then hey, I'm not going to complain about the steel and everything. I know I did it, I know how it happened. But, I'm sure I'm not the only person that throws their knife in the dirt. I mean, this is a hand-me-down from when I was a kid playing mumbly peg and stuff. We didn't put a big piece of wood out there and play it. No, we played it in the dirt. You threw your knife in the dirt. And there's different ways of doing mumbly peg and everything, but basically you're trying to throw the knife where their foot, you stand with your feet together. This is the way we played it. And you throw the knife, and if it sticks, that person has to stretch their one leg out, over to where the knife is to pick it up, and then try to do the same thing to you. You win if the person stretches their leg too far, or they can't stretch and pick up the knife or whatever. That's the way we played it. It's unfair to throw at your opponent's foot, right by it, everything. To be safe, you should throw it further away. I don't remember what we were using. It might have been butter knives or something. I remember it wasn't anything super dangerous, but still, if my parents caught us, we would have been in trouble. It was me and my little sister playing that. All right, so I like that one. I still like this one. I'll slap it on occasionally. But this guy is the one that impressed me the most, simply because I didn't expect it to be this good, for the price. Yeah, it's a stick tang, or you can see where the tang narrows down here. Who knows how much further narrow it gets down there. But I tell you what, I've thrown this thing. The handle, the guard has gotten a little bit loose, which, hey, from my experience with leather stacked handles, I kind of expect that. But I'm not even going to bother with trying to tighten this one up, because it doesn't bother me. The finish is holding well. This thing throws well. I've got, I went out there, at Bardwell, and was throwing this thing into the wooden sign and everything. I love this knife, man. It's inexpensive, but it gives you that big buoy feel. And it could probably do, if you want a baton, as long as you're keeping it back here, I think you're going to be all right. But anytime you're starting a baton, a leather handle, I mean, you're just asking for it. So, I mean, you do what you want to do with your knives. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying this one right here, I would not smack it back here with anything trying to split wood. I wouldn't do that. You can do what you want. I would not blame the knife if it failed, if that happened. Other people are going to say, the knife's junk because it wouldn't baton through wood. All right. If that's your requirement for a knife, is that it has to be an axe, okay, go ahead. Be that way. That's not my requirement for a knife. You have whatever you want as your parameters, all right? Mine does not say the knife has to split through wood to be a perfect knife. I'm sorry. That's just not something I'm going to go along with. You can, if you want to do that way, fine. If that's your, there's nothing wrong with it. If that's your parameter, if you say that that's what a knife is required to do, any knife, no matter what the size, it's got to be able to baton through wood. All right, woodsman. Have you ever heard of a splitting maul or a wedge or any of those things? You might want to try one of those sometime. Beat on that instead of beating on your knife. Oh, there. I got into batoning again. But anyways, there you go. Those are my main knives for my main large fixed blade knives that I carried for 2024. These are not all of my fixed blade knives by any means. These are the ones that I carried and used. And like I said, I don't carry large fixed blades as often as medium or small. Small is the ones I carry the most. Medium comes up next, and then large is last as far as like carrying and use category, because I live in an apartment. I'm not out bushcrafting anywhere. I can carry these anywhere I want, these large knives. Now in Texas, once the blade gets beyond 5.5 inches, there are certain locations where this is a prohibited weapon. They added that one in there because when they were writing the law, some idiot with a sword attacked a university, and they said, wow, we got to limit somehow the ability of people to carry swords in an institution of learning or something. We have to be able to restrict that. So that's what they put in there on that law. I think that was their reasoning behind it, because an incident happened while the law was being written. But that being said, still, they're not as easy to have on you when you sit down, especially if you don't have a dangler. If this is flexible and stuff, it can move a little bit. But you've got this sitting on your belt loop and this sitting on your side. And yeah, it can parallel your legs sometimes, but I'm telling you, if you're sitting down a lot, the longer the blade, the more difficult it is going to be for like getting in and out of vehicles and stuff like that. So these are the ones that I did. That's my ones. The next ones that are going to come up, I think, will be my most carried flippers, because I always carry a small fixed blade, a flipper, and usually a traditional knife. And I'll get the traditional at the very end of all of this particular series. And I don't know what to put them in, so I just put them in rant and rave, because I didn't want to put them in each specific category as far as playlist. So I just put rants and ramblings or whatever. I just put this one in there. So there you go. If you ever carry a fixed blade, or you had carried a fixed blade, large fixed blade knife, whatever you consider large, leave it in the comments. I'd love to hear and see what you guys carry, because nobody has the perfect answer, and stuff like that, and it's always good to get different ideas as to what people carry. So anyways, there you go. Sorry for rambling on so much. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.